What if I told you that while millions of British families are choosing between heating their homes or putting food on the table, one royal has been spotted dripping in diamonds worth more than most people's annual salaries? The scenes emerging from Buckingham Palace this week have left the nation absolutely furious, and what you're about to discover will shake your faith in the monarchy to its very core. Behind the gilded gates of Windsor Castle, a storm has been brewing that threatens to tear apart the very fabric of public support for the royal family. Queen Camilla, the woman who once promised to serve the people with humility and grace, has been caught in a web of extravagance so shocking that even royal insiders are calling it tone-deaf beyond belief. The images that surfaced last Tuesday have sparked outrage across social media, with hashtags calling for accountability trending nationwide. But the palace's response? Absolute silence. The year 2024 has been nothing short of devastating for ordinary British families. Inflation has soared to heights not seen in decades, energy bills have tripled, and food prices have pushed millions to the brink of financial ruin. Food banks are reporting record demand, with working families now making up the majority of those seeking help. Children are going to school hungry, elderly people are dying in cold homes, and young families are being forced to choose between rent and groceries. Against this backdrop of genuine human suffering, the royal family's actions have never been under more scrutiny. It was King Charles who, during his coronation speech, promised a monarchy that would be in touch with the people, one that understood the struggles of modern Britain. Those words now ring hollow as reports emerge of Queen Camilla's recent activities that have left royal watchers and the general public alike questioning whether the royals truly understand the gravity of the crisis facing their subjects. The contrast between the royal family's lifestyle and the reality of British life has never been starker, and the cracks in public support are beginning to show in ways that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The tension had been building for months. Royal commentators had noted subtle changes in public appearances, a certain distance in Camilla's interactions with the press, and whispers from palace staff about growing concerns over public perception. The Queen Consort, once praised for her down-to-earth approach compared to her predecessors, seemed to be retreating into a world of privilege that felt increasingly disconnected from the struggles of ordinary people. Royal engagements began to feel more staged, more calculated, as if the palace was trying to manage an image that was slowly slipping away from their control. Inside Buckingham Palace, sources report that tensions were rising between different factions of royal advisors. Traditional courtiers, steeped in centuries of royal protocol, clashed with newer, more media-savvy advisors who understood the changing mood of the public. The divide wasn't just about strategy. It was about fundamental questions of what the monarchy should represent in modern Britain. Should they maintain the grandeur and ceremony that had defined them for generations, or should they adapt to a world where such displays of wealth felt increasingly obscene? The breaking point came during what should have been a routine royal engagement. Queen Camilla was scheduled to attend a charity gala for a children's hunger charity, an event that should have showcased the royal family's commitment to addressing the very crisis affecting so many British families. Instead, it became a PR disaster of epic proportions. As photographers captured her arrival, the Queen Consort stepped out of a Rolls-Royce, wearing what jewelry experts later estimated to be over £2 million worth of diamonds and precious stones. The tiara alone, a piece from the royal collection rarely seen in public, was worth more than most Britons would earn in a lifetime. But it wasn't just the jewelry that sparked outrage. The dress, a custom creation by a luxury designer, reportedly cost £50,000, while her shoes, crafted by an exclusive Italian designer, were priced at £3,000. The handbag, a limited edition piece that had a waiting list of years, carried a price tag that could have fed a family of 4 for 6 months. Every element of her outfit screamed extravagance at an event supposedly dedicated to helping hungry children. The irony was so stark, so painfully obvious, that even the most ardent royal supporters found themselves questioning what they were witnessing. The photos went viral within hours. Social media exploded with comparisons between Camilla's outfit and the weekly food budgets of struggling families. Memes appeared, showing the cost of her accessories next to grocery receipts from families choosing between milk and bread. The hashtag #tone-deaf royals began trending, accompanied by stories from real families about the impossible choices they were making every day. One particularly powerful post showed a mother's receipt for a week's shopping totaling £23.50, alongside a photo of Camilla's earrings worth £200,000. Royal photographers, usually respectful and carefully managed, found themselves in the unusual position of capturing genuinely shocking moments of disconnect. One particularly damaging photo showed Camilla laughing heartily while wearing her multi-million-pound ensemble, standing next to a banner reading, "No child should go hungry." The image became a symbol of everything wrong with the monarchy's response to the cost of living crisis, shared millions of times across platforms, and picked up by newspapers worldwide. The charity event itself became a secondary story to the fashion choices. Speeches about child poverty and food insecurity were overshadowed by calculations of how many meals could have been provided with the money spent on a single piece of jewelry. The Queen Consort's attempt to connect with families affected by the crisis fell flat when children present seemed more fascinated by her glittering tiara than her words about understanding their struggles. The immediate response from the public was swift and unforgiving. Buckingham Palace's phone lines were jammed with complaints from angry citizens demanding explanations. Social media platforms became flooded with criticism, not just from Republican activists, but from ordinary people who had previously supported the monarchy. Longtime royal fans expressed feeling betrayed, with many saying they felt sick to their stomachs, seeing such displays of wealth during a humanitarian crisis. News outlets that had traditionally been supportive of the royal family found themselves unable to defend the optics. Even conservative newspapers, usually quick to support the monarchy, published editorials questioning the judgment shown by the palace. The Daily Telegraph, long considered a royal-friendly publication, ran a piece titled, "When Duty Becomes Tone Deaf," while the Times published opinion pieces from former royal correspondents expressing genuine shock at the disconnect between royal actions and public need. Opposition politicians seized on the moment with unprecedented directness. Labour MPs who had previously avoided direct criticism of the monarchy made statements calling the display unconscionable and a slap in the face to struggling families. Even some conservative politicians, traditionally protective of the royal family, found themselves unable to defend what they had witnessed. The pressure for a response from the palace grew hourly, but the traditional royal approach of staying above the fray seemed increasingly untenable. Religious leaders, including senior figures in the Church of England, of which the king is the head, expressed private concerns about the message being sent. The Archbishop of Canterbury, usually careful to avoid direct criticism of the royal family, made subtle references to the importance of leading by example during times of national hardship. Catholic and Muslim leaders were more direct, with several openly questioning how such displays of wealth could be justified when their communities were suffering. International media picked up the story with particular interest from countries where wealth inequality had become a major political issue. American networks drew parallels to their own debates about executive compensation during economic downturns, while European media used the story to examine their own relationships with remaining monarchies. The story became a case study in how quickly public opinion could turn against institutions previously considered untouchable. The palace's initial response was the traditional one of dignified silence, but as criticism mounted and the story showed no signs of diminishing, cracks began to appear in their usual unified front. Unnamed royal sources began briefing journalists, offering explanations and context that only seemed to make the situation worse. Claims that the jewelry was on loan from the royal collection and therefore didn't represent new spending were met with derision from a public struggling to pay rent. The long-term implications of this incident extend far beyond a single evening's poor judgment. For the royal family, already navigating challenges to their relevance in modern Britain, this moment represents a potential turning point in public opinion. Polling conducted in the weeks following showed a significant drop in support for the monarchy, particularly among younger demographics and those most affected by the economic crisis. The incident has sparked broader conversations about the role of monarchy in a democracy facing severe inequality. Political commentators are openly discussing whether Britain can justify maintaining such an expensive and seemingly disconnected royal establishment when basic public services are being cut due to lack of funding. The annual cost of the monarchy, previously accepted as a relatively small price for tradition and tourism, is now being questioned with new intensity. For Queen Camilla personally, the damage may be irreversible. Having spent years building a reputation as a hard-working, relatable member of the royal family, this single evening may have undone decades of careful image management. Royal biographers suggest that she may never fully recover from the perception that she is fundamentally out of touch with the people she is meant to serve. The charity sector, already struggling with reduced donations due to the economic climate, now faces additional challenges as the royal patronage system comes under scrutiny. Organizations that had previously benefited from royal involvement find themselves having to justify their associations, with some quietly distancing themselves from events that might be seen as ostentatious. Perhaps most significantly, this incident has accelerated conversations about the future of the monarchy itself. Republican movements, previously considered fringe voices in British politics, are finding new audiences among people who had never previously questioned the royal system. The idea of an elected head of state, once dismissed as un-British, is gaining traction among voters who see the current system as fundamentally incompatible with modern values of equality and social justice. The royal family now finds itself at a crossroads. They can continue with business as usual, risking further alienation from an increasingly skeptical public, or they can make fundamental changes to how they operate in a nation struggling with unprecedented challenges. The choice they make in the coming months may determine whether the British monarchy survives the 21st century or becomes another institution that failed to adapt to changing times. As Britain continues to grapple with the worst cost of living crisis in generations, every royal action will be scrutinized through the lens of this moment. Queen Camilla's diamond-studded appearance at a hunger charity may have lasted just a few hours, but its impact on the monarchy's relationship with the British people may last for generations. The question now is not whether the royal family can recover from this crisis of credibility, but whether they have the wisdom and humility to learn from it before it's too late. The images from that Tuesday evening have become more than just a public relations disaster. They represent a moment when the gap between royal privilege and public struggle became too wide to ignore, too stark to excuse, and too damaging to forget. In a nation where families are making impossible choices about basic necessities, the sight of unlimited wealth on casual display